Alright, welcome back guys. This tutorial here we're looking at this iBox. You'll see on mine this is already done, and so is this part here. I actually went to upload the videos for this part originally and found I'd accidentally overwritten or deleted the files or something silly. And since then I have actually merged my objects together in here, which I do tell you to do at the end of doing this part here in the tutorial. So we've only got this iBox part here I have to redo. It's not too hard to create a basic shape of that, but I'm not going to go through the hassle of building all that there just to show you this part here. What we'll do is first off we'll grab some measurements of our iBox. You can check yours to make sure yours is the same size as mine roughly. We want to measure from that point to that point on our box, which gives us an X size here of, for purposes sake, 220, and grab the Y height, which you can see here is 240, so that's pretty much square. Using that I determined the rough size of this should be around 180, so we need a circle in there that's about that size. And we also need this height here, which determines how thick we need this part to be. What you can see here is 64 roughly, or 63. So it roughly determines the size of what we're going to do with this eye. I'll jump out here and show you what we're doing. To create the shape we've got there, I'll just turn all that off so we can see what we're doing. First object we want to create is a tube, and we actually want 3 of these, so copy and paste. This first tube we've got here, we wanted the size about 180 round, so that means our outer radius needs to be 90. So that's that size coming through here, and a radius of 90 will give us a diameter of 180 right round. And for this we'll change the inner radius to 30, and we'll change the height of this to 10. Right, so we've got that there. We want another tube to go on top here. That doesn't look like it's changed the height at all. It hasn't. What's going on here? It's inside those other tubes. Don't worry, I'm having one of those days today. I thought I'd get on and do this here so we can complete the tutorial for the whole dome. This tube here we want outer radius of the same size, so that's 90 again. And this time for an inner radius, we'll go 50 should be fine. And again the height segment there, we got the height of 10. And this final tube here, we want the outer radius at 90 again, and this time the inner radius at 65. Height down to 10 again. And now we need to position these. If we leave the bottom tube where it is, this one for our Y height we can add 10, and that one there we can add 20. Plus 20. You can see the shape that gives us. It still hasn't moved that one there for some reason. Come up here. Should be at 20. If yours hasn't moved, just drag it up the y-axis a bit and set the size to 20. That's given us this shape here, which forms sort of 3 bars inside our lens. We need a case to hold this object in. We'll create that out of a cylinder, so objects primitive cylinder. For this we want obviously a radius of 90 again, which will put it at the same height. Well, the same radius as all those. And for a height we want that to be roughly 70, which is a bit bigger than the total depth of our iBox. And for our Y size we need to add half that height of this object, so we want those tubes to sit flat on the bottom. So we have to add 45 to its Y axis, I think. It's not jumping around for me, so I'll just drag it and get it in the right place. Let's have a look at that. It's gone too high. What are we doing here? I thought that should have been right. Looks like we've got a Y height of 30. So there we go, it's sitting flat on the bottom now. With the caps, we can actually turn the caps off on this. That creates an open top and bottom on the object. We actually want to close off the bottom here, so we can use the close polygon hole for that. If we make our cylinder editable, that's C on your keyboard if you've forgotten that, and you have to be in polygon or point mode to close the polygon hole. There. Create a selection set while we're here of that polygon. So selection, set selection, and we can call that I back. We also want to make a loop selection of these edge polygons, like so. Click off your selection set here before you set another one. Click on your cylinder and selection, set selection. I sides or something along those lines. And now to create the last bit we need to put a lens across here. For this we'll just use a disk. Grab the object properties of the disk. Outer radius needs to be 90 so that it fits in the middle of our other objects here. Disk segments we can take down to 1 just to cut out some polygons. And we need to change its Y position to 40. What this part here will do, we're going to put a glass texture on here. I'm just using the Banji shader for the moment. We will change that later to a different glass texture, because I don't like this Banji shader much as a glass. And we can group all those objects together. So that's the tube, the cylinder, and the disc. So we hit Alt G to group, and you can name that lens or eye or whatever you like. We're going to look at getting that roughly in position. To do that, we'll turn the dome back on, and we'll just move this object around the front. So find the frontier model and just drag it here. What you will want to do to your model is set the rotational axis of this 2 units back to 0. To do that, simply select your dome object. It should be. I don't think we'd had it in a null by this stage. And just change its P rotation from -20 back to 0. That'll reset it. Vertical, which is where we want it for the next part, which is creating the hole. So I'll show you that in the next tutorial. It's not very difficult. We're just going to use a Boolean object. So if you've used those before, you can do that and get your eye in place. If you haven't used them before, I'll show you that.